is Gareth coming in at the start just to say that we recorded this before the St. Patrick's Day parade was cancelled. I think it comes up. I'm not sure which podcast we talked about Corona. We talked about it on both of them, but anyway, whatever. You get what I'm saying. When that comes up, you'll know how wrong I am. And I'm sorry. Now we're recording. Oh yeah, by the way, do you have headphones?
No. I've some in my car.
No, don't worry about it. One of the headphones is broken, so I can't check the levels the way that I'd like.
Okay. But do you think they're okay?
Oh yeah, they look okay to me.
Check
just
the
sometimes
levels.
I'll be like checking on.
Gareth.
Hold on a sec.
I'll just do the intro. It's me, James Moore. And guest. And liberal guest.
Liberal pundit.
Gareth Lyons.
Yeah, alright, hold on a sec.
Gareth, who are you supporting in the US general election? Warren.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Warren.
Tulsi Warren.
Tulsi.
That was the funny thing is that
I just support the guy who kisses his daughter in the mouth. The more he kisses her, the more I vote.
yeah, those are good.
Who in Ireland do you think will kiss their daughter on the mouth?
No, none of them. They wouldn't like. They would probably like just about shake their daughter's hand.
No, that's such a lie. There
it's not a
are
lie
definitely
at all.
men who kiss their daughters in the mouth.
No way. No,
Yeah.
don't buy it.
I'd
No,
say-
I just don't think that they're as affectionate. In all honesty.
Yeah, there's probably some like modern man dad who's like,
Yeah. Okay, come here, sweetie. Mwah.
Mwah.
All right, here's your avocado toast that I put into your fucking lunchbox. So you can
yes,
go to your bloody Educate Together school and learn how to be a soy boy.
yes.
Yeah. I know I said she was a girl at the start, but, you know.
No, I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying that the other way people get everything from America.
Yeah.
But he's getting maybe we should kiss our daughters in the mouth. You know?
Yeah. It's like when, you know, your man for Love in Dublin, he said, oh, look, food blogs are a big thing over there. And then he creates it. And it's like looking over there going, hey, kissing your daughter on the mouth seems to be a big thing.
Yeah.
And he's like the one who's like does it. And everyone's like, you know, then what was it? 10 years later on RTE, they're like, it's the newest sensation. Kissing your daughter. Kissing your daughter in the mouth.
In the mouth.
Yeah. And
it's like Brian Dobson leaning over,
yeah. And
kissing his daughter in the mouth.
yeah. And actually, funny enough, you think he's got some daughter who's knows somebody we know. Funny
Who?
enough. One of the Cherry comedy guys.
Dwayne.
No, the other guy.
Richie.
No, Niall. Do you know Niall Farrell? Oh, he's probably not involved anymore.
No.
Okay. Should we not have any of their names in this? Is that not a
Oh,
thing?
we didn't say anything wrong.
No, I didn't say anything. I just think one time I said that I really like Brian Dobson, and then he like tagged him. Was like, well, have I got news for you? And he tagged like this girl. She's
Yeah.
never responded. It's like
Imagine
dragging me into this one.
Brian Dobson meeting all those three lads and he kissed them all in the mouth. So,
All the Cherry guys.
yeah.
That'd be funny. Yeah. Anyway, that'll be a good tight five then, you know, about
What?
Brian Dobson kissing you on the mouth.
Yeah. It'd be good. A tight 30 seconds.
Yeah. So kiss Brian Dobson. He bloody kissed me on the
Imagine
mouth.
Brian Dobson kissing his daughter on the mouth. Now imagine him kissing
Some
her
comedian
male
you've
friends
never
on the
seen.
mouth.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
No,
my-
please, that's enough laughter. For one, you know.
Please stop.
I have so many more jokes. And then you
No.
like run out the time, and it's like it's been 7 minutes of just kind of
Just told the one joke.
no, just that it like oh yeah, but also I'm imagining like you know like kind of a Def Jam comedy thing. Where it's like you're just acting out the kissing. You know what I mean? You know, Brian
yeah.
Dobson's like kissing.
Yeah.
Kissing
He's
her on
like
the mouth,
this.
kissing her on
You're
the mouth.
like that.
He knows what I'm talking about. This
Well,
guy here.
well.
Yeah, you kissed your daughter on the mouth. You can imagine Brian Dobson kissing her, and then imagine him kissing that guy over there, standing by the
That
bar.
guy, that guy,
That guy. Oh god.
Just dancing on the stage.
I used to really love Brian Dobson for whatever reason. I used to think that he, but
That's
now
insane.
I know, yeah, it was so
I met him
bizarre, huh?
I met him once.
Is he just a real dry shite?
Kissed him on the mouth.
Nice.
No, I met him at my sister's school concert.
Yeah. I remember, like, I watched him on TV as a kid, and I just used to think of him as the newsman and just kind of a nice guy. But then when he, like, the recent interviews he conducted with like Mary Lou, I was like, oh great, he's just a biased piece of shit, as you know,
Yeah.
as should have anticipated that. You
Yeah.
know,
Can't believe I kissed that man on the mouth.
I cannot believe I kissed that right winger on the mouth.
Sucked the tongue out of his head.
We really wanted to restart for this, you know.
Yeah, this is the stuff.
Okay, yeah. Well,
Anyway, you had a
other
question to
interesting
ask?
discussion is now lost to time, just so we could talk about kissing Brian Dobson on the
On
mouth,
the mouth.
or whether he kisses his daughter on the mouth.
Biden style.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I was going to say about Tulsi Gabbard. It was interesting because we were talking about Mehdi Hassan there earlier, but he like as in before you were recording, so that's a useful thing.
Yeah.
But Mehdi, I believe it's Mehdi or Mehdi or whatever. I'm going to call him Mehdi because Mehdi sounds weird.
You know what they do on the radio? It's like,
What?
just choose a pronunciation and say it confidently.
All right, Mehdi Hassan. He
What?
yeah, he's a pretty. He can kind of be a little bit of a, you know, a little.
Earlier you said he was like Andrew O'Neill.
No, okay, I wouldn't. Well, okay, I compare him to Andrew O'Neill insofar as he's in some cases. He at least objectively puts his politics out there. Do you know what I mean? He says, here are my beliefs,
Yeah.
but also my job is to just grill these people. So that's
Yeah.
exactly what he does. And so it doesn't really matter. He'll be like, here's somebody on from the Obama White House now. Why did you bomb that Yemeni wedding? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why did your boss do that? You know, and he's like, well, we can't, you know, in the interest of he really makes some people fucking sweat. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And he had like Tom Steyer on there, which is very funny. And he's like, why are you doing this campaign? You've already spent however many million. You're not going to be president. Well, Mehdi, I believe that I will. Yeah, but you're not. Like, you're not going to be president.
Yeah.
Just like having to say, Tom, please stop your campaign. And you're like, why are you doing this?
I could do that.
Yeah.
I could be that guy.
Not a lot of people would be able to, because, you know, you need those people or, you know, other people to come on. So the idea of like kind of holding people's feet to the fire is kind of, you know, it won't be able to bring these people back on again for repeat interviews.
Yeah, we have to be tough but fair.
Yeah. Well, that's what he is. But anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is Mehdi. God, what were we talking about with
Joe Biden kissing his daughter on the mouth.
Oh yeah, sorry, that was it. Yeah, so he's been very like, you know, he said Joe Biden is in obvious mental decline. We shouldn't have him be running in the race. I
Do you
cannot
think
believe.
that's true?
Yes, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yes, yeah.
We hold these truths to be. You know the thing.
Did you say that?
Yeah. Did you not hear that clip? I actually had to put that on. Everybody, I'm playing that for you now at the
Play the clip.
play the clip. All right.
I like the one where he referred to Obama as President My Boss.
My boss.
President
He
My
did
Boss.
it again.
Did
Just
he?
the other day. He went. He was like. I think he said something like. Yeah, so it's President My Boss, and this guy was like President that guy. I believe he said something like that. You know.
There was a meme I saw online, and it was Bernie Sanders to Joe Biden, and Bernie Sanders says, "Under Obama, why did you propose to Ligma?"
Yeah.
And Joe Biden goes, "Who's Obama?"
There's the one at the moment it goes, I'm Joe Biden and I can't remember this message. You know?
Yeah. Or
And-
the one, "I'm Joe Biden and I'm running for the Senate. If you don't like me, vote for the other Biden."
That was good.
There's never been another Biden.
Where is this fucking thing? But like, no, he's like, and somebody made like a compilation of all the times he's been saying like weird shit.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I don't know if anybody can hear this now. Can you hear this?
Are you talking to me or the audience?
You know the thing. And he had another one, and I don't think it was too fair because he was being interviewed, and he goes, "All right, thanks, Jack." And he's like, well, my name is Chris." So, and he's like, "Oh, right, yeah, sorry." And And he was kind of apologizing. He said, I was talking to somebody earlier on who's called Jack. And I was like, you say the name Jack all the time to refer to people.
Yeah.
He was in a town hall and he was like, I got news for you, Jack. He says it all the time. The idea of being like,
It's like, why are you apologizing this one time?
It's like, this is like, don't admit that. What are you talking about? So yeah, he said some amazing stuff, and his surrogates have said incredible things. But anyhow, Mehdi recently, he hates Tulsi Gabbard for correct reasons. She's a bit of kind of like a fence sitter, and she kind of, courts right wing kind of press and goes to these people.
Yes.
But also like, she has a bunch of shit and a bunch of dubious kind of foreign policy opinions, and she's a supporter, I believe, of like Modi, or that Indian dictator essentially. But anyway, so they have this weird system in America whereby you have to raise a certain amount of money to be able to get on the debate stage. Okay.
Yes.
So anyways, she raised the requisite amount of money, and they just upped it so that to basically keep her from going on the debate stage.
Oh, they did it. She was allowed on.
Yeah.
It's for the future ones, isn't it? It's not like they said, actually, you're not allowed to do it.
No, she's not allowed to do it.
I thought it was after the debate. I think she's in the debate. It's just for future ones.
No, she's not on the debate. She's not on the debate stage because of the thing. Fuck this.
What are the criteria? Be a simp.
Where the fuck is this?
And if you know what a simp is, something deeply funny.
A simp? What? What are you talking about?
Nice talking to the audience.
Tulsi Gabbard likely to be excluded from the next Democratic debate.
How interesting.
For the first... Fuck off. Hate these stupid GDPR bullshit ads.
Yes. Go off.
Go off, king. Queen. Whatever. This is NBC. Lying liberal NBC.
Yeah.
So for the first time, it'll just be Bernie Sanders. For the first time, yeah. So they basically just want two people on stage. So it's going to be Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. Takes place on Sunday, March 15th. Is that close?
Yes, next Sunday.
Okay. She's almost certain to be excluded from the next presidential debate after the Democratic National Committee announced Friday that candidates will need to have at least 20% of all delegates awarded thus far to participate. So they basically changed the rules last minute so she can't get on stage.
Right. But it's not actually about money.
No, it's not to do with money. So I have that wrong.
The money thing is weird, though.
It is fucking weird.
It's sort of like the worst possible system, saying they have to have a certain amount of money.
Yeah. But Mehdi shared this and he was like, good. And I was like, it can't be, say, good. I mean, you don't like her, obviously. And, you know, but like, they can't just change the rules like that, surely, you know?
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's American politics. And one thing. So in the previous
which brings
version,
us up to
the previous version of this episode to launch into our topic for today. Oh, whatever. I shouldn't have said it that way either.
No.
But like, basically, I was
My
noticing.
question is.
Huh?
My question is.
No, don't. How dare you?
No, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah.
It's unrelated.
Go for it then. Yeah.
Why do you think?
Oh.
No, go on. Ask a question.
No, I was just saying that last week. I found myself kind of being reminded of current Irish political stuff. I was like, oh yeah, shit, there's stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Because I kind of got swept up in looking at Super Tuesday and getting invested in these stupid things that I don't really know anything about.
Yeah.
And then I decided, okay, well, you know what? We're recording this podcast, so might as well figure out what the fuck is going on in the world, you know? And then
every Saturday.
Yeah, every Saturday, rain or shine, maybe not rain. But I decided I'd look up, see what's going on, and then it turned out nothing, really. Nothing happened. Everybody's on kind of media meltdown over the coronavirus, which I fucking unfortunately don't care about, like, at all.
Really, you don't care at all?
I don't give a shit. You
don't care that elderly people and disabled people are going to be affected by the coronavirus?
Well, obviously, I care about that.
No,
I just feel like it just reminds me of, you know.
It has brought out the worst in internet discourse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that thing I just said, I was making fun of other people for saying.
Yeah.
I was being ironic.
Yeah, no, but I think that the other thing about it is like these things come up and they're very frustrating because they demand a lot of attention, but then there's systemic problems which are kind of allowing this disease to spread as fast as it is. And people are just like, why aren't the government doing anything? And it's like, man, the government, you should know by now, they don't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we have like people sleeping on trolleys and shit like this. And, you know, like there's the health system is completely fucked.
It's also just like, I agree with you about the health system being fucked, but I think that for people going, why aren't the government doing anything? I don't think that people would want the government to do anything. Like if the government came out and they were like, we're gonna restrict traveling, restrict the movement of people, and enforce all these like health standards. People would be like, this is really annoying, I don't like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be up for it.
Yeah.
So I just don't see what they want the government to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's more interesting or something that... See, I don't want to be that type of person. There was a sentiment that Blind Boy had which really annoyed me years ago about like the, you know, Trump protests. When Trump was coming and they were like, you know, oh, what do you think about people saying they're going to protest Trump? And he's like, I think they'd be better off protesting the housing crisis.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they can do two things. And also the way organizing works, you get linked in with people and it creates a network, you know.
Yeah.
And the same people who are on the mailing lists for, you know, gay marriage were contacted for the abortion referendum. It's this thing that grows. But when you have something like the coronavirus, now obviously we probably can't congregate in the masses that we'd like, but you do feel like this is an ongoing problem that we should be very...
But how is it an ongoing problem? It's like
No, I'm just saying that we don't have the infrastructure and all of these things in place to try and, you know, combat the coronavirus and stuff because of our health service. And I feel like that's an issue that's worth addressing. Whereas it kind of gets lost when it becomes associated with the coronavirus. Once that kind of falls out of the news cycle, then those issues also fall out as well.
Yeah, but like what, like in currently, how is our health system failing to combat the coronavirus?
I guess I'm just anticipating what's going to happen when it kind of hits here hard. Like at the moment, we just have a problem with like quarantining the virus and stuff. People coming in, and you know, I don't know how hard it's hit Ireland. Honestly, when it says corona, I just completely like zone out because I just like in my own, you know, completely selfish opinion, I've already wasted my anxiety over this on like bird flu, SARS, and swine flu. Like I have like, and also there was like, this was more real though. In Galway, there was a cryptosporidium outbreak, you know?
Yeah.
So like back when I was a teenager. So now at the moment, I'm just like, what does this mean? And until such time as like, you know, we start seeing like real, you know, damage that I can be seeing with my eyes, I don't think I'm going to be able to get wound up about it, you know?
Yeah, so as I can see why you would say if we get hit hard, our health service wouldn't be able to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what the government should be doing.
Yeah.
And it isn't
well, then that's fair. Yeah. So I guess...
Like in China, they locked down cities.
Yeah.
But in Europe, we made the trade-off saying that, you know, we sacrifice that sort of quick action for individual liberty.
That's what I was thinking as well. This is good. The Chinese government's like, you know, it just like in these moments, it's like, you know what, authoritarianism could probably.
Yeah, but there's also part of the reason why the virus spread.
Oh yeah, exactly. But it's also part of the reason as well that the virus kind of was allowed to, you know, happen in the first place, is because like just one of the things I saw online that really bugged me was a friend of mine going, he like shared this picture, and the picture showed like basically the conditions that this virus had been created in, you know?
Yeah.
And they have like just cages and cages of animals on top of each other, different types of animals and stuff like this. And, you know, you have these, you see even footage of China, rural China in particular, just like these kind of completely, I mean, impoverished people, basically, you know?
Yeah.
And he wrote like, oh, unbelievable. I can't believe human beings can be so stupid to have allowed this to happen. And I just kind of thought, like, it's just so weird to just be like, oh, they're stupid. And it's like, they're not stupid. They're fucking poor. You know what I mean? They don't have access to the same things, you know? And like, you know, culturally, obviously, there's huge differences as well.
Wait,
you know?
what point? I don't know what point you're making.
I'm making that, like, you know, maybe I don't know enough about the Chinese government to say a point like this, but a totalitarian regime that kind of like, or a totalitarian government or kind of more oppressive form of government that kind of leaves people in these rural areas kind of immiserated in some way, you know?
Yeah.
And create these kind of horrible, unhygienic conditions while people are just trying to carve out a fucking living for themselves off what they have. So that's what ends up happening. It was like poorly prepared food off of some, you know, I think it was a bat, wasn't it? It was like soup made out of a bat or something. But like the thing about it was people were like, can you believe these people eat fucking bats? And you're just like, we eat like things that are, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's meat is a strange thing to think about eating anyways, you know?
Yeah.
If you were to look at it like, oh, why are you eating a bat? You know, why are you eating a cow or whatever? But either way, what I'm saying is, there, you know, as you're saying, the totalitarian conditions allow for this kind of disease to happen and to spread in such a way through like population density and stuff like this. But then ultimately the reaction that they have to it is also totalitarian, where it's like, okay,
yeah,
you know,
I meant more that they kept it secret for so long because they didn't want people knowing about it.
Yeah, well, did they keep it secret, or were they like actively suppressing the evidence? You know, because that was one thing. There was a scientist who was saying, "No, this is the disease. We need to quarantine this. We need to do something." And they were like, "No, it's fine."
Well, that's the same thing as I'm saying.
No, you're saying that like suppressing it. I was thinking about suppressing it for like that they knew that it was happening.
Yeah, they kept it secret.
No, but what I'm saying is that they didn't acknowledge that it was happening until it was too late, as opposed to they knew and they were trying to keep it from everybody else.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's two things. Was it both, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, right. I didn't know. See, I don't know anything about the coronavirus, so I shouldn't even really be saying this, but I just have a lot of
that's
like...
the point of this podcast, just shoot from the hip.
Yeah, exactly. Say dumb shit that you have no idea what you're talking about. But to me, I guess what I'm just trying to do is offer some sort of, you know, emotional response, which is like, it's hard for me to get invested because everything seems shitty or to such a heightened degree.
Yeah, it's like when every single flu is like
yes,
the end of the world.
Yeah.
You eventually stop going to care about it.
Yeah.
I think that's why people have such a hard time dealing with climate change as well, because it's just like, we've heard this a million times before.
That's the thing. Although I am really surprised that it's kind of taken a foothold as the way that it has at the moment, because like now it's like everybody has to have a platform of sort of climate change, you know, which is funny to me because like I remember when when you was a kid, it was in third class, so that would have been like 1999 2000, okay.
Right.
And I heard about, and so the planet's cooking, and you just go, we got to do something about this.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's just such a no-brainer. And then every single time, one of the other things was like the kind of erosion of your confidence in it was when people like would be making fun of people who are environmentally conscious. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually a great Citations Needed podcast about it with where they talk about how, you know, animal rights and like environmental concerns and stuff like this are, you know, deliberately kind of targeted as being like these weak, wishy-washy things, you know, by interests, obviously, and to make you kind of tune out. But yeah, I mean, now it's almost like the opposite, where it's like trying to make it look, they're trying to create so much kind of concern around it that it becomes, you know, like something that just washes over a lot of people, you know?
Well, I think they're also trying to make it seem like the steps they're taking are sufficient.
Right, yeah.
You know, they're like, there's a big problem, but don't worry.
Yeah.
By cutting emissions by 15% over 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's people don't. It's like you said that now everyone has to have a platform. It's taken hold,
Yeah.
but like it hasn't to nearly the extent that is necessary. Like,
yeah, yeah. No, and I found it funny because I went to see Naomi Klein when she came. Her book was called, like, I think it's called, what's it? Do you see it up there? It's called, like, has fire in the title.
I don't
It doesn't matter.
It's called Naomi Klein.
It's called Naomi Klein. So Naomi Klein's book, Naomi Klein. We were in this big massive auditorium, and there's just tons of people there.
Yeah.
And there's just so much in talk of environmentalism, and the Green New Deal is something which is really spread across. Like, they're talking in most places, you know, and you know, like, they're basically acknowledging, like, because people are saying, oh, we have 10 years, but you know, Naomi Klein says obviously like that. It's not like, oh, 10 years, cool. Now the thing is like, no, it's not a ticking clock. It's like where it's currently happening right now.
Yeah, it's like people who have cancer, and it's like you can cure it, but you're fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not like, you know, like, oh, is it going to be treatable? Oh yeah, it's treatable. Okay, cool. When you'll be finish your chemotherapy, and it's like, oh, finish it in, like, you know, 2 months or whatever. I don't know. I'm completely
it's
wrong,
like
obviously.
You'll never be finished. So.
Well, but also, like, you're doing this 2 months of chemotherapy. It's not like, okay, great, so I'll just wait until 2 months when I feel all better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're walking around like just sick constantly, and, you know, feeling miserable, and like this disease in your, you know.
Well, it's like we'll never be the same.
Oh yeah, but that's the other thing. Yeah,
it's not like even after the 2 months you're back to normal. It's
yes,
like
exactly. Yeah,
you're still transformed.
Yeah, like, she played like a video that they made with AOC, and one of the things that happened, and they wrote into the video, was like, well, we lost Florida. It was an imagined future. So they were just basically saying, acknowledging now, there's, given the current way that we're at now, there's absolutely no way that some places aren't just going to be underwater in a few years.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, our question now is whether we lose all of it, you know? So, yeah. And then also there's the part where you, like, adapt to the climate afterwards as well. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but we will never, like, our generation.
Oh, right. You mean like we'll never get used to the idea of not being able to put on the dryer whenever we want or something?
Like, we're 30, essentially. It's like we'll never get used to it. It's not like it's not like in 10 years' time we'll be Mad Max.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 10 years' time, loads of people have died.
Yeah.
And we'll still be like, do you remember the internet? You know,
yeah. Or it'll be like, you know,
all day.
Just, what are you talking about? Just drive down the shop. I can't drive down the shop. The curfew is in place.
Yeah.
It's like, Granddad, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. That's when the sun is at its hottest. You know?
Exactly.
It'll melt your skin off. You know?
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, oh, I don't know. You know, I don't understand what's wrong with you. You know, like,
yeah. You can.
And it's like taking my melanoma scraper and just, like, you know, grating off some more tumors that are on my forearm. You know.
I read a book by a guy, he's a 100-year-old scientist.
Right.
It's quite good. He was talking about, like, how he thinks the people who are going to survive climate change are going to be like robots, essentially.
Okay.
That's his theory.
What does that mean?
It's like we'll create a system where the humans will die off and the robots will be the ones who can, like, live in this new post-climate change
That's
system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do we upload our memories to this, or is it just...
No, he didn't say that.
Okay. So these are just completely independent. We just created something else. That,
Yeah.
like, do you think that we're capable of that sort of generosity?
No, we wouldn't do it in order to do that.
Right.
He just believes that it's like we're sort of at the cusp of climate change and also of artificial intelligence.
Right.
So it's like you'll see artificial intelligence will be the one to survive us, you know.
Okay. Well, they earned it.
Well, they earned it.
Did you ever watch that Simpsons Halloween special where they have to fight the dolphins? Do you remember that? And they won for the land, and then eventually, and then the last thing is they're just like in the water, like, gotta give it to the dolphins. They just wanted it more.
Yeah. That ending really upset me for some reason.
Yeah, I know it did, because I didn't like that they were like,
in
just,
the water.
Yeah, they were just like, they're gonna drown. The Simpsons are gonna die.
Yeah. And it was all okay.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah.
The tides turned.
I loved the other one that I really liked was when technology took over the planet and they went off to another planet.
No, I didn't see that one.
When they say they went off to another planet, there was one that was trying to save the best of humanity.
Yeah.
And this one really upset me because it was like Lisa Simpson was on the list, obviously, and so the guy who's like marking the list, he's like, "No, I'm afraid you're only able to take one parent, Mom," and he just like walked onto the plane and was like, "Goodbye, sweetie. I want to remember you. I want you to remember me as I am now, filled with murderous rage."
Yeah.
And then he gets on another rocket, and it turns out it's going straight into the sun with like Spike Lee, and like they didn't like Spike Lee for whatever reason back then.
There was another. Who else?
Rosie O'Donnell
and
Tom Arnold.
I thought it was Paulie Shore.
He was on there as well. Yeah. And Tom Arnold played himself, and he said a very funny line. I always liked it, where like, "Oh yeah, my movies weren't very fun. My movies weren't very good, but I never tied people down and forced them to laugh. But I could, because I'm very funny and I'm good with knots." That's a funny line.
Yeah.
Tying them down. All right, so what was the whole point? We were just talking about climate disaster and how people have gotten used to it. And yeah, I guess it's kind of like, that frog in the boiling water thing, where it's slowly rising up and it doesn't realize that it's happening,
Yeah, it's not really like that though. It's
no. Why not?
Well, because we said it was more like The Boy Who Cried Wolf.
Or maybe it's
we said the issue was more that we'd had so many, like...
Actually, you're right. Yeah, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was saying. It's not a gradual thing. It's like literally they said the whole planet's going to die. And we're like, oh my God, we got to get plastic reusable bags. We got to do all this shit. And then people go, okay, yeah, but what we need to do is really take on the, financial interests that are, or whatever, that are creating this thing. It's like, it's really hard to do that, though,
It's also outside of the realm of individual action.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like anyone can use those bamboo toothbrushes.
Yeah.
But like me, as myself, has no influence over like the, 5 people who own 30% of the world's wealth. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I can't influence them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way I can. So what am I supposed to do?
See, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So the thing is, there mightn't be any way of fixing the problem at all. It's like throughout history, there have been people who have been powerless.
Yeah.
So maybe we're just those people. Maybe we are successfully held hostage.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny because it's not even something that makes me feel anxious anymore. Do you know what I mean? I find it weird, but like, I think that the planet is going to die and people are going to be too wrapped up in themselves to do anything about it, And I don't feel like, oh, well, at least I'm going to die before the worst of it,
Yeah.
But I almost, since I have no control over that, then I'm almost like not bothered anymore. Like an inability to feel anxious about it. So, and it seems so impossibly big,
Yeah, so maybe it is impossibly big.
Yeah. But obviously it's not going to stop me from...
From what?
I was going to say from going to marches or something, but I definitely don't go to marches because I don't really give a shit in that regard. I guess I just, I don't even know where to begin with it.
But maybe we just have no influence.
Yeah. But then what happens then?
I don't
that's
know.
Like you just don't do anything.
Yeah, but like maybe there is nothing for us to do.
People would say if you apply enough pressure to
But
these big companies.
But how can we?
Yeah, because like
it's literally like if you were in like medieval England
yeah,
and they were just like, well, if you manage to convince the king,
yeah,
it's like, how am I supposed to
yeah,
impress upon the king to do anything?
yeah,
He can literally just ignore me. Like there's no
yeah,
mechanism. Like you can say vote,
yeah,
but you don't vote who's in charge of,
yeah,
the six richest companies.
yeah,
They have absolutely no, responsibility towards us,
yeah,
other than the basic human responsibility that we all have to each other.
yeah.
Like we have no power over them.
Do you think that, because you saw with like Extinction Rebellion and stuff, and they have their issues and whatever, but they had these big gestures where they're like stopping trains and shit like this.
Yeah.
Do you think what's going to have to happen is that people like are literally throwing bricks through like factory windows or like
Extinction Rebellion is like, in Children of Men,
yeah,
there's that scene where they're like driving down the road and they start throwing bricks at the car.
yeah,
It's and people are just like, it's the end of the world. We have to do something.
yeah,
But what? I don't know.
yeah.
That's extinction. Like, it's literally like, let's just stop a train.
Yeah.
And people are like, why? It's like,
yeah, it is.
Something needs to be done.
That is so funny because that's the maddening thing of looking around you and seeing people just go about their lives and you're just kind of like, I can't fucking handle this. Are you serious? You're not going to
That's
like,
it. And then the response to Extinction Rebellion is insane. Like in Dublin, what we were talking about this, Extinction Rebellion goes to pennies.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's pointless. But then people are like, you're targeting pennies? A working class,
Yeah.
where working class people buy their clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not part of the issue. Like,
Well, the funny thing is that they also went to H&M and like somewhere else. It's like
how you can't like.
It is that weird, no, because they like it is people's like I heard it described on something else where it was like they were talking about how people don't want to say, oh, it's going to raise middle class taxes, and then somebody is saying like, why the middle class in a lot of areas is a fucking sizable chunk, a demographic of people that need to be reached and need to work and stuff like this. You know what I mean? Why shouldn't their taxes be raised? But anyway, it's the same thing with this where it's like, there are these people, it's kind of a residual from the recession, and it's completely fair where like all these people were completely fucked,
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is like, they're like, don't target these people, and I was like, these people are people who make up the planet as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, if all of them stop buying at pennies, then or until something happened, you know what I mean? Then that would create a change. Now, I'm not saying they should do that or whatever. I'm just saying that it's not unreasonable for these people to target this place and make this statement because like those people are still responsible, even if they're also in their own way as well oppressed or marginalized.
Yeah. See, I think my problem with it is you have one group who are trying to bring attention to a cause, climate change, and then the response to it is to sort of use identity politics to remove the legitimacy of what they're doing.
Yeah, but also
so like the people aren't.
Yeah.
I don't believe the people who are like, you're targeting them, it's working class. I don't believe they're doing that in good faith.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is like misplaced. The whole conversation is misplaced because the problem isn't that people are buying stuff in pennies. The problem is that a tiny percentage of the people own the entire world, like half the world's wealth, and they are making the decisions.
Yeah.
So it's not on us to stop buying in pennies.
Yeah.
The moral imperative is on them to stop operating pennies in the way that they do.
Yeah, because that was the thing they were saying. No more fast fashion, and like
and it's like who has the chance? Whose choice is that?
Yeah.
Is it mine, who buys a few things of clothes a year?
Yeah.
or is it the guy who runs pennies and makes
Yeah.
billions of pieces of clothing a
But
year?
that's the thing about it. Like the chant itself and the focus of the protest wasn't against the people shopping at pennies, like you say. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
it was against pennies itself. But then on top of that, like they're also kind of like maybe unintentionally siding with the company. Then essentially is what they're doing,
But
because they're absolving them of
well, that's it. They're completely They're not siding with them, but they're
Yeah.
completely diffusing the argument.
Yeah.
And they're doing it because for some people it's easier to point out why you shouldn't attack a particular group
yeah
than to acknowledge the nuance of an argument.
yeah
You know what I mean?
yeah
Like,
for sure.
so much conversation now online is someone makes a claim and then someone else says, "Oh, you can't say that because you're this and they're that."
Yeah
You know what I mean?
yeah
And sometimes that's relevant, but increasingly it's irrelevant.
yeah
You know what I mean?
Well, and the other thing is it kind of like negates community building then. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think that it's funny because the intention is always to be inclusive of all these groups, but then by constantly policing people on what they're saying, and I hate saying it in that way, you're kind of actually atomizing them and turning them into different types of groups. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So instead of coming together as the one thing, it's like, well, actually, you can't say that because of this, and it means like, you know, you have to be prepared for people to make clumsy statements as they kind of get their shit together.
That's
But
it.
they're
And
not, I
like,
don't even think they're. In that instance, I actually don't think that they were making a clumsy statement. I think that they actually targeted a number of businesses, and you know, if you talk about they're walking down O'Connell Street, you know, this is a place that filters out, that goes on to down to H&M and down revert down to. So there's actually like a route that you can march a group of people through, as opposed to like, oh, I'm going into Dunn's, where there's a one entrance and it's the same as the exit, you know?
but it's also like everybody shops in pennies.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, that's the other thing. That's what I was kind of saying earlier on, is in like, you know, and the other thing it kind of reminds me of as well is it's kind of condescending to these working class people as well, because it's kind of like, leave them alone. They have to buy their, cheap ass shitty clothes. They don't know any better. You know, they're kind of being this weird, overly protective of them. And it's like, no, but this is a movement that's seeking to include them as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all need to be on this side and making this position. And as soon as you say that, well, that person doesn't have to follow the rules because they're like, really, whatever. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to what I'm saying, but what I'm getting at is that, like, in a broad consensus or building a movement and stuff, if you kind of treat people like they're these weak kind of people who will just fall apart at the suggestion that maybe they shouldn't buy their clothes at pennies, it's kind of like, the argument that Naomi Klein was making, though, was in that people were applying to that pennies thing, but also she was making for the train being stopped, is that it's not very good movement building. Because it kind of, she says a Green New Deal kind of has to be this all-encompassing thing which takes care of, like, construction industry, jobs, health, all of that stuff needs to be tied so that nobody's getting left behind, because that creates the kind of resentment. So this guy targeting this train in the way that he did, preventing people from going home and to and from their jobs, was kind of like a boneheaded move, just because, like, it's like you're not creating solidarity there,
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think that the same argument could be applied to the pennies thing, because, even though it was being applied to that, which is that it's kind of not recognizing class,
Yeah.
But anyhow, yeah, it's interesting. I think that, like, I think probably the reason I'm more interested in the movements and solidarity behind it is because I think that, like, I live in hope, but think that the planet's fucked. But to have, like, a contingent of people who are kind of on your side and you're building this coalition,
yeah,
like,
and like, it's easy to understand why people fracture like that. Like, as if you're Irish, and it's easy for English people to grate on your nerves.
Yeah,
and you can start thinking like, who are they to tell me what to do? after what they did to us,
Yeah.
and that can become sort of a reflexive behavior. It's like, who are they to say that to anybody, or who are they to
Right,
say
yeah.
that to someone? But I think you're right when you say that it's like solidarity is the way forward.
Yeah.
You know.
And it is like, to take it back to Naomi Klein's thing about making sure that all the stuff is there so you can like move forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why, and actually taking back even further, that's why the coronavirus, was that on this part?
Yeah.
That's why I find it very annoying when it kind of, the news works in cycles the way it does.
Mm-hmm.
And the corona becomes the thing when I believe that there's a holistic approach which is being ignored by just focusing on this one virus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, it's not like you can really get upset about that because that's just the way human beings operate. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like when people are like, I remember the first time I saw it was when people were, when Amy Winehouse died, and people were like really quick to like, God, what was it? I guess just like, people were like, oh shit, Amy Winehouse died. And it's like, where were you when she was suffering, or like making a joke? And then people would be like, how could you make a joke at this point in time? And also, yeah, maybe how could they make a joke at this point?
Yeah.
But either way, like, God, what am I even talking about? I think it's just that like the cyclical nature and the focus point and how it becomes this big furore and then it dies down and it's gone. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the coronavirus or like storms or any of this type of thing, all of this is symptoms of stuff that's happening on a global scale that we should probably be more concerned about on a daily basis. You know?
I don't get how coronavirus is a symptom of anything.
Okay, well, maybe I'm wrong. I guess it's just,
Like,
I'm kind of conflating it a bit because I'm thinking about those diseases that are being kind of thawed out from the ice caps and shit like that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, I feel like there's going to be a lot more pandemics and epidemics in the coming years. And I feel like this is a kind of test case for it. And the reason it's annoying me is because it's almost like as buzzwordy as like Brexit became, where Brexit just became to encapsulate this whole sort of thing as opposed to like addressing core problems that resulted in stuff happening, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess corona not necessarily relating to the environmental stuff, but maybe the way we live our lives, I suppose, because the way it's able to travel so fast is because so many of us are traveling around the world, and that also contributes to carbon emissions and stuff like this, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm being too holistic. I'm saying we should be holistic, but maybe I'm being too into it to the point where it's like, how do you even go about combating that? That's like the entire fucking world, you know? But yeah, no, I guess it just bothers me because I feel the way people focus on this is probably because it's easier to imagine this news cycle ending and the problem being resolved in some way, shape, or form than it is to imagine like systemic changes, you know?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Yeah. Sorry, no, I'm just thinking about like, because again, that is a stupid argument to make, for me to make, you know, because it's the same thing as saying like, oh, I think that they should be protesting, you know, the housing crisis instead of Donald Trump, you know? And it's like, you know, maybe this is how people get activated, but I guess it's social media just turns everything into a weird sort of, you know, surface thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, when you're talking about like short term, like what you call it, short term trains of thought or media cycles.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with a guy who's involved in like founding Twitter. And he's describing how it's like perfectly set up through like blind iteration, through no design to promote short term angry responses, you know, because it's like those are the ones that are going to give you the fastest, the biggest response,
right?
You know what I mean? If you post something that makes people angry, that's going to like get the most clicks,
yeah,
as opposed to something that makes someone feel like good over the next 2 years, you know. So like the whole system is set up to ignore fundamental issues.
Or maybe just like, yeah, and then like kind of has the maybe, I don't know, intentional or unintentional effect of just numbing people, you know?
Mm.
You know that thing about like where your dopamine receptors get kind of killed basically,
Yes.
and you kind of just can't get hits of like in this or rushes in the same way, you know? Maybe it's like that except with anxiety. Just you like live in a constant state of anxiety, you know?
Yeah, I definitely feel that's me.
Yeah.
I wonder what it feels like to have no dopamine.
I don't know. What is that again? Is that a condition? That's not like being like a psychopath or something. No, that's
Yeah,
not
it's
it.
like dopamine's like the reward feeling.
Right. Probably just suicidal then, isn't it?
Maybe.
But yeah, like I found I was in therapy the last day, and I started getting really worked up about, like, I don't want to bring it up again because it's to piss me off, but like the current the thing with that animation company that was making a show with
Yeah.
a turf, and yeah, anyway, he was kind of pointing out, he's like, you know, you're getting like really wound up right now, because I was just fucking like shaking and getting so angry about this. And then I was kind of realizing, like, anyway, it was the first time in a long time that he kind of just, you know, he butt-whyed me into realizing, like, he's like, why are you angry? And then I was like, I don't know, I'm angry because, and then eventually you get to a point and it was just kind of like feeling like, oh, actually maybe maybe the reason that I'm constantly angry is because, I mean, I'm feeling in sort of constant despair, or this idea that, like, fundamentally can't change anything. We're all kind of going towards oblivion in some way, shape or form, and you just feel kind of powerless to stop this, you know. But even admitting that or saying that out loud actually felt so much better. For some reason, it felt like a relief. But like, once I was back on Twitter again, I suddenly was like, fucking angry again and reading all this shit.
Yeah, Twitter's the worst thing
Yeah.
for your brain.
And then but this time I finally had the ability to be able to just like, sorry. Oh, thank God. Sorry, I thought I'd stop recording there for a sec. I finally had the ability to be able to take a step back. I'm like, okay, my response isn't actually to this tweet. It's just a kind of
everything.
It's, yeah, exactly. It's a kind of exhaustion and a frustration, and kind of like, it's easy to send it out there, but then you actually also have to feel bad. I feel bad when I get mad, you know? I'll say something online, I'll send it out there and I go, oh, fuck, why'd I do that, you know?
Yeah.
And, yeah, but like, I was talking about it and then I kind of figured out, and other people probably know this themselves, but just like, maybe anger is a proactive form of grief or suffering, you know what I mean? Where it's like, if I felt really sad and depressed, you know, then I'm just in on myself, just kind of being like, you know, fuck, what am I gonna do? What's like, fucking, this is miserable. What does it matter? What happens? But then when you like, you take that and you're just like spitting that back out, you're like turning it into something and just saying, like, you know, rightly or wrongly, this is the fault, you know. It's people like this, it's sentiments like this, it's stuff like this, that if that wasn't there, I wouldn't be miserable or upset, you know. So it is the same thing as being depressed, only now it's like, you know, I mean, not all the time, I'm just saying Twitter kind of perpetuates that, but like, there are times where it's reasonable to get angry, and where you should get angry to, you know, to fight for somebody or something. But it's so exhausting. It
would have been sort of nice to be in, like, we were watching that video about Irish republicanism.
Yeah.
It's sort of nice to be
online,
in, like,
YouTube.
The Rising.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
yes, exactly.
You got to do one thing.
Yeah.
You know, be like Terence McSweeney and starve yourself to death. It's like,
yeah,
you just like, what you want. I want this very one thing.
That's right. I thought about that with, like, there was certain things in the Middle East where you're here seeing these, you know, governments being overthrown and people being like, you know, like, it's very violent, and I wouldn't want to fucking drag anybody through the streets. But there is a thing where I actually did feel jealous of these people, because I was like, fuck, I wish I had something like that.
Yeah, like cutting Gaddafi's nuts off. You're just like,
it's
wish
like,
I could do that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't like to the violence element of it, but just the fucking idea that, like, let's do this thing. Whereas here we just have just so much. That's the thing about Irish politics. It's so fucking boring, you know. Not only do the stakes feel like fucking penny stakes, but the people are either these kind of like just these drones that are so self-assured in their own kind of dominance that they don't even need to make gestures to anybody, or they're like, you know, like that's why you can really understand people supporting the Healy Rays. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck yeah, I would love that. I would love knowing that this person was going up and pissing off loads of people, and that they, you know, that was another thing as well that I found very funny was people, and the ability of like, I don't want to say institutions, but, you know, let's just say the ability of other people or elites or this, that, and the other to be able to turn a kind of, I'll just explain what I'm talking about. When Dave McSavage made that sketch, you know, he fixed the roads, didn't he, or whatever. And people quote that every time with the Healy Rays. Oh God, he fixed the road, and I was like, that's fucking politics, you know. Like, he fixed the road. He made a fundamental difference in people's fucking lives, and it's like, it's amazing the ability of people to like turn that into an insult, you know.
Yeah.
Or to make that a pejorative, you know.
I'd love to read a book about Michael Healy Ray. You know, he was like, when he was younger, he's the one who wears a cap.
Yeah.
He was like...
He's the least bumpkiny looking one of them, do you know?
But that's something you can say, but I can't. But he was into like metal music and stuff.
Really?
He was like, I don't know what the term was, but he was like a hipster.
Bloody mosher.
Yeah. And he was sort of like cool. And, you know, his mum was American.
I didn't know that, no.
His mum worked for the CIA.
Makes sense.
And he was one of the experiments.
That's the final piece. He's an asset, you know.
But he was sort of like very aware, sort of more metropolitan.
Yeah.
And then he just like made, as he grew older, he just turned into Michael Healy Ray.
Yeah.
I think Danny is primordial man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever heard of America, but
no, he's heard of America, but he just reminds me of like Bull McCabe or something. I mean, he even has the same look as him, you know? Like, he's just this kind of brutish figure who, like, you know, like, it was funny. Did we talk about this before? But like, people were like comparing them to like the Trumps or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, not really.
Cut his nuts off. Just drag him through the street, cut his nuts off.
Yeah. Is that what they do with Gaddafi? Cut his nuts off?
I don't know. I imagine
they dragged him through the streets anyway. That was fucking horrible, but whatever. I mean, like, I don't think anybody deserves that. I don't really care, except for maybe Mussolini. I don't know.
You think Mussolini deserves it, but Gaddafi doesn't?
Well, I don't know anything about Gaddafi. I just know more about Mussolini, so, you know. I don't know anything about Gaddafi, but actually what happened the last day, which was they posted up, oh yeah, you know the whole Bernie Sanders thing where he's like seen to be praising Castro.
Yeah.
Well, somebody posted up Nelson Mandela praising Castro. And in the thing, he's talking about these amazing figures like Fidel Castro, and then he goes on Colonel Gaddafi. And I was like, so I just wrote underneath it really naively. I thought maybe, you know, really shouldn't have done this on a fucking giant message board. But I literally wrote, is Colonel Gaddafi good, or am I missing something, you know? And just the comments underneath, I'm not able to make sense of any of it. But like, you know, he gave money to, you know, whatever movement that Nelson Mandela was, you know, the leader of, and things like this. And
yeah, like Gaddafi wasn't he going to give stuff to the IRA? And
oh yeah, that was another thing. He almost gave stuff to the IRA, funding.
Gaddafi just seemed, you know, that meme. It's like lawful good, chaotic good. Yeah. He just seems like chaotic evil.
Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah, I don't know. He seems like a bad guy, but with no cohesive ideology.
Yeah.
Like, he wrote that book, you know, the Third Way, or the Little Green Book. Have you heard of that?
No.
He wrote this book, and it was like this new transcendent form of politics and economic system.
Right.
But it was really just like, do what I did.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
this is all gleaned from that documentary Hypernormalization.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I forgot he was in that.
So this is like half remembered,
yeah,
already almost incomprehensible documentary.
it was a
It's
really tough documentary.
It's like a 45-minute section of a 3.5-hour documentary about the concept of what things being lies in the global sense.
Yeah, like it was very funny because I was trying to describe it to my mum the last day.
Impossible.
Yeah, I know. It's like hypernormalization. And she's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "It's a documentary." And then I had to look up the Wikipedia to try and read it and just be like, but like, I have to watch it again because like, I think I've watched it twice. I think, and I've heard a number of podcasts where he talks about it and condenses down some of the ideas, and now I'm gonna have to watch it again. But I feel like every time I watch it and listen to stuff, I get closer to kind of understanding what he's saying.
Yeah, I mean the risk is always that it's gibberish, or that it's like I remember once I read this article about there's this like mathematical genius, and he had won all these prizes. So like he was legitimate, and then he was trying to solve this one problem.
Yeah,
and he went away for 10 years. And he came back and he had like this 1,000-page proof.
Yeah.
It was literally like, it's like a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Or something like that. Some very basic thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I proved it. But in order to understand it, I've had to develop this new body of mathematics.
Yeah.
And it takes 8 years to learn.
Yeah.
And people are just like, if it's true, it's very useful. But am I willing to spend 8 years to see if it's true? Not to learn it, to see if it's true. See if he's made a mistake.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how I feel about hypernormalization.
Yeah,
it's like, I could spend 21 hours watching it. It's like, but what if it doesn't?
I mean, like, my worry is just like, I had a really horrible moment of existential dread when one of Kayla's friends was kind of making, I think she was trying to be a bit showy-offy, okay? But we were like, oh, we're rewatching this. And she goes, oh, right, you watch things again? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, watch this movie again. She's like, just there's so many movies to watch. Like, I can't imagine watching one again.
Really?
And I'm not sure whether she adheres to that. But the idea of not watching a movie, like, I suddenly got very anxious about my time and the things that I'm spending it on. But actually what it ends up doing is that you end up watching a lot more fucking dross because you're like, I can't commit to...
Yeah. I wouldn't really watch films again, but it's not because I would feel like it's a waste.
Yeah.
It's just I feel like I wouldn't get anything out of it. I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, well, that's what I feel about this.
But I
committing
would watch
to a 3-hour documentary again sounds like, fuck, like, that's another 3 hours gone.
Yeah. I think also that the documentary is in a very good form because when you're reading a book, like when you're watching a film, you're following the story.
Yeah.
When you're reading a book, it's like you can just keep going over the same page.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I understand this.
No, you're right there. You're right there.
Whereas in hypernormalization, he's like, okay, do you understand that? Now on to the next part. You're like, it's like when Homer's building the drywall. And it's like, take out your 3-point trowel. And if you don't have that, take out your ground trowel.
Yeah, whoa, so slow down. What was the first thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like, and the thing about... Yeah, no, I think you're right. But and also, I think, I could be wrong, that the editing is kind of... He's a very narrative kind of guy, and he loves kind of doing these flourishes and stuff.
Yeah.
So as a result, then, the editing is real smooth, and it's going from one to the other. But as a way of conveying information, I don't think it's very successful, because it really, like... if you were trying to convey this idea, you'd be like, okay, here's all the Trump bits, here's all the Gaddafi bits, here's all that. But because he wants to show how they all mingle together, all of a sudden you're bouncing from Trump to Gaddafi to whatever. Yeah. And the one bit that in the middle of the movie, that ends up coming up a lot in interviews for podcasts, but he makes a criticism of Patti Smith, and but that's really odd to imagine in a documentary that talks about Gaddafi, Trump, and then they talk about hyperspace at one point.
Yeah.
And or cyberspace, and but yeah, he made a criticism of Patti Smith, which was essentially she encouraged being an individual. And that meant that that he said, like, where it is an initially admirable idea, it has kind of ceded too much control to the elites and the powerful, because while they've consolidated their power despite their differences and stuff like this, the individual kind of ism of this has meant that the left has become incredibly fractured, you know? And it is kind of feeding into what we were saying earlier about somebody going like, well, you can't actually say that for these reasons. And it's like, can we recognize that we all want the same thing and then just try to go forward towards that, And obviously that also has its own problems, because people weaponize that against people on the left as well. Like we were talking about last week, it was Gary Gannon talking about purity politics, you know what I mean? Where suddenly it's like, we all want the same thing. And it's like, we just have different ways of doing it. My one is giving the developers all of this money so that they can make houses. It's like, that's not the same thing. So anyhow, I don't know. We're on now about like an hour and a half. So maybe we'll just finish this puppy off.
Yeah.
So let's put a bow on it. We didn't even talk about the thing that we were planning to talk about.
Are you tired?
I'm going to get tired in about 10 minutes and it's just going to be dross.
Why don't we just do the, what's his name, Joe Rogan thing? Talk for as long as the conversation requires.
Is that what he does?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can take a break.
Let's pause it here, okay? Just so that this episode is quarantined off, like the coronavirus victim it is. Put a bow on it real quick just to say environment fucked, constant anxiety, created by social media, obviously, and all these other things. But also that, there is hope in solidarity and kind of coming together as people, even if it's only to prepare for the inevitable demise of the human race. All right. It's like Toy Story 3, we're all going to be hugging each other as we go into the incinerator, No? All right. I'll pause that there. So this will be the end of this episode, and we'll see you in another episode, hopefully.
Bye.
Bye.